Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Chris here from Big Sports News, back at it again with another video. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick recap of what happened during week one of stage 4 of the CDL, as well as giving you guys a quick preview of what you can expect going into week 2 of stage 4 of the CDL. And without any further ado, let's get right into the matches. I'm recording this for the second time because my computer died on me. RIP for that first recording, but hey, we go again. Who cares? So in our first matchup of Friday, we have the New York Subliners taking on the Florida Mutineers. You guys know I really wasn't too sure what to expect from Florida, given their roster change. Wasn't really too sure what to expect from Two Real and Major. They looked really good later, but in this matchup, not so much. Subliners handled business 3-1 as I was expecting. And yeah, on to the next matchup. So we saw Breach take on Optic Texas. And I will preface this by saying that ProLoot was really not having a great weekend. So yeah, that's really all you can say for the Breach series. And the Breach just looked really good. I mean, Vivid, he really stepped up and he showed that he was really the piece of this team needed to be a top tier team that can beat some of the best on their better days. And then, of course, at 6, we had the LA Guerillas taking on the Toronto Ultra. You guys can see I was expecting it to be a 3-1. And I thought the Ultra would dominate this series pretty much because I wasn't sure what to expect from this Guerillas team. Of course, bringing in Neptune and Spart. Wasn't too sure what to expect. They played way better than I was expecting them to. I knew there was potential for this team to gel, but the problem was just the amount of practice that they had. I know obviously the honeymoon phase dictates that teams with less practice win more, but I just wasn't sure what to expect. LAG's been so dysfunctional all year. I mean, roster changes don't always improve teams. So it's just kind of a toss. Now, looking at our matches on Saturday, we of course kicked things off with the Battle of EU, where the London Royal Ravens took on the Ultra, and they pretty much dominated them. It was a 3-1. The Ravens didn't really break a sweat in that series. They just looked really good and very comfortable. In our next matchup at 4:30, we of course had the New York Subliners taking on the LA Guerillas, and the Subliners won 3-1. It was pretty comfortable for them. I was expecting it to be a 3-2. I thought the game would be pretty close, if I'm being honest with you guys, because I thought the Guerillas would play up to their competition. They did in the Ultra series, but not so much in the Subliner series. And yeah, Subliners walked with a pretty comfortable 3-1 dub. And then in our 6 p.m. match on Saturday, we of course had Optic taking on the Rokkr. And you guys know I thought it was going to a game 5. I didn't know what would happen. I thought Minnesota had a chance to win the series, a very good chance, considering they went 5 in the last stage. But they were just like, hey, screw your predictions, bro. We're winning this 3-1. You know, we want you to be able to enjoy your Saturday night. Play some ranked. So we're going to send you home a little bit earlier than you're expecting. And I was like, okay, cool. And then the Thieves, clearly, as you guys can see, they said, bet. Yeah, we'll do the same thing. Just pack it up, bro. Pack it up. You can finish your CDL viewing experience at 8 p.m. on Saturday night. I was like, oh, okay, I appreciate it, guys. Good looks. No long games. I thought it was going to be a day of game 5s. We didn't see a single game 5. I literally said in that video, it's going to be a day of game 5s. Look how many game 5s there were, man. 0. Like Octane's Donut, 0. Oh, I'm sorry. Too far. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself and jumping ahead to Sunday's matches to keep it quick and short. We kicked things off the Legion taking on the Surge. I thought it'd be a 3-1. I thought the Legion might take a map with Johnny coming in for John. Johnny looked good in the one series he did play, but, you know, he's going up against the defending Major 3 champs. So what you gonna do? In our next series, we of course had the Minnesota Rokkr taking on the Mutineers, and the Mutineers absolutely body slammed them 3-0. That was it. All she wrote. Two Real looked great. Major Maniac looked absolutely insane, man. That guy was a major maniac on the map. Major problem. So I don't know. Florida looks pretty good. I mean, Major Maniac has really given this team a breath of fresh air, and he seems to be the answer to all their problems so far. I mean, taking down a Minnesota team that beat Optic very convincingly says a lot to me. It definitely makes me excited for the future for the Mutineers. Of course, in the stage, I hope they make it to champs because if they do, it'll be really interesting to see how they stack up against some of the teams that have been really tossing them around all season. Your LA Thieves, not Optic, Faze, teams like that. I'm really curious to see how it goes if they make it to champs, if they qualify. And then in our last match, we of course had my boys taking on the LA Thieves. I thought it was going to be a 3-0 smoke show, but the Thieves really came to play this weekend, or excuse me, last weekend, and they took it to a game five. They could have won the game five if they like spawned in. They got double donutted in S&D. It was a 6-0 in map two and a 6-0 in map five. It was literally the first time it's ever happened in COD. Octane had not a single kill through both S&Ds. He dropped double donuts. I think he went 0-12. He didn't have a single kill. Might have been, depending on how many rounds there were, it might have been more than 0-12. But yeah, he got, well, it would have to be 0-12 at the least, unless he just survived around on time. Yeah, but anyways, he had 0 kills. So crazy, insane. First time it's ever happened. But yeah, let's move on to week two. I don't want this video to be 40 minutes. So looking at our schedule for tomorrow, you guys can see there's about 15 hours still matches. So you can do the math. I'm on the East Coast. You can figure out what time I'm recording. Midnight. Big reveal. Kick things off with a rematch of COD champs from 2021, of course, Cold War season, with Atlanta taking on the Toronto Ultra. I think it's going to be a 3-1 for Faze because Ultra didn't look too convincing last week. Let's look at their results. So, of course, they played Guerillas. They beat them 3-2. And then they also played London, and they lost to London 3-1. So I think with that in mind, I think Faze makes easy work of the Toronto Ultra. Faze played a really good LA Thieves, and they walked out with a great like S&D centric victory. S&D is really what propelled them in that series. And against a team like Toronto, they're very good at S&D, but their hard point is not really where it should be. It's too reliant on hero plays from Bance or Insight, in my opinion. And Cammy and Kleenex. Kleenex is just always doing it all. That poor guy. I mean, he's overburdened on that team. He has to do too much. But, you know, they can't get into position to be extremely impactful because too much of their play style is reliant on Bance being really sneaky and ratty or Insight just L triggering or something that's like really easy to kind of isolate and blow up. So I think it's a 3-1 for Faze. I think in the respawns, it'll likely just be pretty lopsided. I think that map 3 will likely go the way of Faze. I think map 1 will probably go the way of Faze. Map 2, I'm not sure about, but based on their performance against Thieves, their S&D looked phenomenal. So I'm actually going to say, we'll revise this. We'll say a 3-0. I mean, it looks like Faze are just outclassing them in every mode. If they lost the Ravens 3-1 and they barely beat the Mutineers or whoever it was, Guerillas, I'm sorry. I just don't know. So we're going to say 3-0 Faze. We'll go out on a limb. Last time I said 3-0, it ended up being 3-2. So we'll see how this one goes. But I have faith this time around. And then looking at our next matchup, the 4:30 p.m. slot, we have the London Royal Ravens taking on the Minnesota Rokkr. And this is an interesting one because Minnesota is coming off a 3-0 loss to Florida, and Florida did expose some things in their game. There were kind of gaping holes. The S&D was super close. All the maps were super close. I don't know. I feel like this Rokkr team is getting figured out, and teams are developing some sort of, I guess, parity with them where they're on equal footing. So with that in mind, I think the Ravens walk away with a 3-2. I hope this ages well. I hope it ages like wine and not milk. But I think the Ravens walk away with a 3-2 victory over the Rokkr. Just given their recent performances, I think the Ravens are in better form right now. But I do recognize that the Rokkr are an incredible team. They just suffered their first loss since stage 2 regular play. So I don't know. That is of course in the pro league, like regular season, not majors. But yeah, I think that the Ravens walk away with this one. Gizmo coming back seems to really have injected a lot of needed life into this team. And I think the Rokkr won't have enough to topple the Ravens on their best day. Now in our last matchup of Friday, we have the Breach taking on the Surge. And I think this is going to be a really tight, closely contested series. I think it goes to game 5, but I do think that the Surge walk away with it. They are defending Major 3 champs. And until they face like Faze or Optic, which I think they play Faze at some point in the stage. Um, I just don't see them losing anytime soon. So we're going to go with a 3-2 surge. On Saturday's matches, we kick things off with the Ravens taking on the Mutineers. I think this is going to be a 3-2 also. I think the Ravens have two very, very, very tightly contested series on their hands. Mutineers have been playing really well. Rokkr have been playing exceptionally well. The most likely outcome is that Ravens definitely beat Florida and probably lose to Minnesota if they're going to lose. But personally, I think they have a 2-0 weekend. I think with Gizmo and this team, just given what they've learned throughout the season and just getting thrashed a lot, I don't see this team really losing to a lot of these like champs contenders, we'll say. And I don't see them necessarily falling out of the top four in the standings. So I think it's a 3-2 for Ravens. I think their respawn will likely be better than Mutineers, but their S&D is what I'm a little bit concerned about. We'll see how it goes, but their S&Ds looks pretty good. And I feel like against a methodical team like the Ravens, the Mutineers mid-round adjustments are going to be what makes or breaks this series. But yeah, I like the Ravens mid-round adjustments. I feel like they're a really good S&D team. They adapt really well, and they're able to take anybody out to around 11. So I think Ravens win this series 3-2 with all that analysis. And moving on to our next series, Legion versus Optic Texas. Illy's back, so move on to the next series. I think it's a 3-0. But I don't know, man. Maybe this is the week that Paris like just plays spoiler. I mean, I keep doing the meme with the guy with the do something, poke with the stick, but it never works for Paris. So we'll just start saying what the rest of the community says, I guess. Low key Paris fans are down bad. Like I'm down bad trying to help Paris out, you know? What are you gonna do? And then in our 6 p.m. slot on Saturday, we have the New York Subliners taking on the Seattle Surge. And this is gonna be an interesting one. I was thinking about this earlier today as I was planning this video out, and I had some interesting thoughts about the play styles of the two teams. So basically, what I was thinking was because New York is basically a perfect hard counter to really slow, methodical, and I would say measured teams like Seattle. I think this will be the first loss that Seattle takes the stage. I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to say it's a game 5, but I think this will be the first loss that Seattle takes in the stage. Subliners are really, really, really intent on getting champs. I don't know what it is. I guess it's just because this is likely Prim's last season. These guys are like on a mission, it seems. I mean, they're just beating everybody. Like, I mean, they were really just laying siege to the entire CWL last week. Like, I don't see it stopping. Like, well, why would I say it's going to stop? I mean, that would just be fated. So I'm going to say 3-2 Subliners. I'm going to say that they beat the Surge. I'm going to say that they're the first team to ride the wave and beat the Surge this stage. And I think it's behind a strong performance from none other than Hydra or Paco. And of course, his sub duo Kismet. I think they'll both pop off, and I think that'll be the difference maker that gives them the win in game 5, excuse me, round 11. Now, in our 7:30 slot on Saturday, we of course have my boys, Faze Up, taking on the LA Guerillas. And the Guerillas have gotten considerably better since adding Spark and, of course, Neptune to the team. But it's Faze, right? It's the consensus #1 team in the game. Most consistent placings, most consistent form all season long, even though like they've been playing really bad for Faze standards. This is the most consistent team in the CWL by a mile. So I think they'll beat the Guerillas 3-1. If I had to guess, the Guerillas will probably turn up and take maybe the S&D. That's what that franchise has always been really strong in. But yeah, out of respect to the Guerillas and their recent improvements, I'm going to say 3-1. Now, in our first series of Sunday, we of course kick things off with the LA Guerillas taking on the Boston Breach. And I think the Breach walk away with this one. I think it's a 3-1. And I don't know who the superstars of this series will be, but I feel like it'll be Reese Vivid and Nero once again. So I think 3-1 for Breach. Their respawn has looked considerably better. Their S&D pretty good, but could be better. But their respawn has definitely been the thing that has improved where they needed it to. So that's the more impactful change for them. And then I don't know. I just like the addition of Vivid. I feel like he does all the dirty work that Capstone didn't really do when he was trying to world start people. Feels like the team has more direction and the coaching is being better utilized because of the role that Vivid plays, being like the most active sub in the league. He has the most engagements out of everybody. So I think that with the coaching that they have on that team, the play style of that team, it's just a perfect fit. So I'm really intent on seeing what they do for the rest of the stage and on land. I think they could definitely play spoiler. Now looking at our 4:30 slot on Sunday, we of course have the Paris Legion taking on the LA Thieves. And I think the Thieves are going to run it up. I think the Thieves, I think this is their best stage. I think this is going to be their best stage, obviously, since stage one. And I think they look to have a pretty easy schedule, if I'm being honest with you guys. Obviously, the Faze match was kind of tough, but their first match last week was against the Breach, and they 3-0'd them. And the Breach looked really good. So I think this is Thieves' stage to really throw if anything happens. And yeah, I mean, I really just like Thieves right now. I think they're in a great place. And I have them winning over Paris 3-1. So with that in mind, we move on to our last series where we will see Optic Texas taking on the New York Subliners. And I think Subliners, I think they do it again. I think they do it again, man. They're really intent on making champs, like I said, for Crim, for the boys, for the vibes. They really want to make champs. So I think they win a 3-2. I mean, maybe this will be a terrible take. Who knows? But I think it's a 3-2. That's what I'm going to like settle on. And yeah, I think this weekend is going to be really exciting. There's a lot of really great grudge matches this weekend. I mean, we got Faze versus Ultra. We Breach versus Surge in a grudge match, but I would say Subliner Surge is a grudge match, considering where Subliners are sat in the placings and the fact that Surge are coming off a major win and they want to keep that domination going. That's more of a storyline matchup than a grudge match, though. London, Florida is not really a rivalry. Paris Optic is definitely not a rivalry. Guerillas Faze isn't a rivalry. Legion Thieves is kind of a rivalry because Thieves have always farmed Legion for points. Legion and Guerillas, they always farm the poverty orgs for points. So I guess there's kind of a rivalry if you want to stretch it like the CWL tries to with Boston and New York. But yeah. Anyways, I think we have some really great matches on the slate. I think 3-0 Faze over Ultra on Friday. 3-2 Ravens over Rokkr on Friday at 4:30. 3-2 Surge over Breach at 6. 3-2 Ravens over Mutineers on Saturday to kick things off. 3-0 Optic over Paris in our second matchup. 3-2 Subliners over Surge in our third matchup of the day. And 3-1 Faze over Guerillas in our last matchup of the day, which then leads me on to Sunday, where I think we will kick things off with the Breach going 3-1 over the Guerillas, the LA Thieves going 3-1 over the Legion in our second matchup of the day. And to end the weekend, I think the New York Subliners upset Optic Texas with Illy back in the mix with a 3-2 victory, really cementing themselves as one of the top 10 teams in the standings. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, New York has to win out, but other teams also have to lose, and New York has to place better than whoever would have the most points in eighth place at the major to make the champs. So it's getting absolutely crazy. I hope the Subliners pull it off. I never want to see my guy Crim6 not make it to champs. That would be heartbreaking if he didn't go to champs, man. That would be so sad. So yeah, I know I've been rambling a ton. Hope you guys enjoy all of the COD this weekend. Hope you have a great morning, noon, or night wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. Also, RIP to Technoblade, man. That like ruined my entire day. I saw the video that his dad uploaded, and you know, it just hits different when you see like dads cry because like everybody knows what it's like when you see your dad cry. You're just like, oh man, like this hurts. So RIP to Technoblade. Sorry to his family that they had to deal with all that. And sorry for the loss for everybody who was a Technoblade fan on YouTube. I mean, he's a massive, massive, massive YouTuber, great guy. And yeah, moment of silence for Technoblade. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, brother. And yeah, hope you guys have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. Be sure to really value this life that we have. It's very short, and you know, once it's done, it's done. I mean, just value it, enjoy the laughs, the memories. It's all we have at the end of the day, and enjoy the COD too. I mean, life is too short. Season's almost over, and yeah, just stay positive, keep grinding, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Hope you have a great morning, noon, or night for the third time. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Once again, this is Chris from Fake Sports News, and I'm signing off. Peace.